Hello everyone! Today we'll be going through your novel book called The Lone Ranger Rides by Fran Stryker. The Lone Ranger is a very well-known and famous character, and you may have heard of him before. This book is a best-selling classic, and the Lone Ranger is actually an icon of American culture. He's always depicted as wearing a mask, and he's a former Texas Ranger who fights outlaws in the American Old West. And we can see that here on the right, where we're looking at the front cover of the book. We can see the Ranger here wearing his mask on his horse and in the Wild West. Before we move on to the book, let's have a look at the author. Fran Stryker was an American author who was born in 1903. He mainly wrote for radios and comics. And he was best known for creating the Lone Ranger character. And the character was originally created in the Lone Ranger radio program. And it was so successful, it was then made into other forms, including the book that we'll be reading, as well as a TV series and a movie series. Fran Stryker also wrote other novels, including The Green Hornet, which was also very popular. You may want to have a look at that book in the future. Unfortunately, Stryker died in 1962 in a car accident while writing his final work, a historical novel called One More River. I'm now going to go through a quick summary of what happens in the book. In the first few chapters, we first see the gap, which is seen here. The gap is where the book is set. We are first introduced to a few of the main characters in this novel. The Cavendish family includes Bryant, Jeb, Vince, Wally, Mort, and Penelope, and we also meet the Texas Rangers, who've been ambushed by a group of outlaws. Silver, a strong white stallion, which we can see in this picture here, takes the wounded ranger to safety, and they take shelter in the gorge, so we can see the wounded ranger in that photo there. Then he meets Tonto, a Native American Indian who was an old friend from many years ago. In the following chapters, Penny rides into forbidden territory where she meets Tonto and Silver. So here we can see Tonto riding on top of Silver. We learn of Silver's history as the ruling stallion of a wild herd of horses. As Penny returns to the ranch, she meets a new employee, Yuma, which we can see here. And they quickly become friends. Finally, at Mort and Rebecca's house, there is a tense confrontation, which results in Mort shooting Becky and Bryant allegedly shooting Mort, which leaves him injured. The story then goes back to the cave where the Ranger has recovered and tries to piece back the events of the past few days. You can see that in the photo over here. We then go back to Penny, who speaks to Uncle Bryant, and he confesses that he shot Mort, but then she quickly finds out it was actually Yuma who shot Mort. Tonto and the Lone Ranger then set out to find the outlaws through treacherous terrains. Penny decides to leave the house on her horse, whose name is Las Vegas, and then endures a heated encounter with the killer called Rangoon. Luckily, Penny is saved by an anonymous masked stranger and Tonto. So here we can see the masked stranger fighting Rangoon and saving Penny. In the next few chapters, the Ranger finds himself in a predicament. He finds out that the outlaws that he's after are actually led by Bryant Cavendish. And as we know, his niece is Penny. The Ranger offers Penny a silver bullet, which we can see here on the right. But Penny denies. When Penny returns, Gimlet explains the situation to Penny about who killed Becky. Vince then comes in and finds out that legal papers have been drawn stating that the ranch is to be inherited by Bryant. Meanwhile, the Lone Ranger travels and continues on his journey and finds himself at the bunkhouse, where he finds a semi-unconscious Gimlet who is terribly injured. Gimlet then reveals to the Lone Ranger that the bunkhouse belongs to Yuma. Yuma then returns to his bunkhouse and finds the Lone Ranger, and this results in a very violent brawl between them. And we can see that in the photo here. Lonergan and Sawtelle then pressure Penny into signing the papers to give Bryant the ranch, and she eventually agrees to their request and signs it. The Lone Ranger enters and offers to deliver the papers to Bryant, while revealing that Gimlet had been killed by Yuma. Lonergan confronts the Ranger for his behaviour, simultaneously trying to stall for time until his friends arrive from Red Oak. The Ranger seems to fall for his tricks, but soon ends the conversation and imprisons the outlaws. Afterwards, the Ranger heads out with Tonto and Yuma, with the latter turning on him and escaping. An admission from Bryant Cavendish. In these chapters, the Ranger travels to Red Oak to confront Bryant Cavendish. However, before long, the old man is shot by an unknown stranger who flees the scene. The commotion forces the Ranger to flee as well, and he sets off to find Yuma. The Ranger and Yuma engage in a duel, with the Ranger coming out victorious. He learns that Bryant had been the true leader the entire time and plans with Yuma to take down Bryant. The Ranger and Bryant return to the ranch, where lawmen will soon be coming. So this is where we see the iconic duel between the Lone Ranger and the bad guy. Who is Andrew Munson? The Ranger searches Bryant's room and finds 2 identical copies of his will in his pigeonhole. He then questions Bryant about Andrew Munson and tries to convince him to reveal the truth to the lawman. Wally is revealed to be the mastermind behind everything and plots with the other outlaws in the kitchen to take down Bryant, Yuma, and the Ranger. They storm into Bryant's room, but the Ranger is prepared, and together with Bryant, they gun down the assailants. And only few are left alive. Wally leads an ace. Finally, the Ranger wakes up to see the sight of Bryant guarding the outlaws, with his gun pointed at them. Wally, in an attempt to foil the protagonist's plans, confesses about his crimes and reveals his plot to kidnap Penelope. In a short time, Yuma and the Texas Rangers arrive on the scene and establish order at the ranch. It is revealed that Penny and Tonto have actually come back instead and are safe. As the criminals are successfully apprehended, the Ranger and Tonto mount their horses and ride out towards Bryant's Gap. And that is the end. So that concludes the novel summary for The Lone Ranger Rides by Fran Stryker. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope that you can now read the novel with a better understanding of the plot. And I hope you also decide to read some of the other books about the Lone Ranger and his other adventures in Texas. Thank you everyone.